Dallas was hit hard. Giant hailstones the size of baseballs pounded the city. Hurricane-force winds tore through the streets, trees were uprooted, power lines were ripped from their moorings. As darkness fell, millions across Texas found themselves in the cold and dark. The power outages stretched from small towns to major cities. This was not just a blackout. The energy grid of the nation's energy capital had been brought to its knees by extreme weather. The storm was a tragedy for many. It was also a wake-up call. The Texas power grid is isolated. It is designed to avoid federal regulation. This isolation, once a source of pride, proved to be its Achilles heel. When the storm hit, Texas was unable to draw power from other states. The grid was overwhelmed by the surge in demand. Power plants, many ill-equipped for freezing temperatures, tripped offline. Temperatures plummeted. Millions shivered in their homes. The lack of electricity had a cascading effect. Pipes froze and burst, causing widespread water damage. Hospitals struggled to care for patients. The fragility of our infrastructure was laid bare. The blackout was a public health crisis. The crisis in Texas exposed the myth of self-sufficiency. When disaster strikes, we are all interconnected. Neighbors help neighbors. Volunteers work tirelessly to distribute food and water. The images from Texas were heartbreaking. Families huddled around fireplaces trying to stay warm. Senior citizens wrapped in blankets, shivering in the cold. Children crying from hunger and thirst. Those who could afford to flee the cold did so. They sought refuge in hotels or with family and friends in warmer climates. But many were left behind. They were trapped in their homes. They were without power, heat, or water. For many, the blackout was more than just an inconvenience. It was a matter of life and death. Hospitals were overwhelmed with patients suffering from hypothermia and carbon monoxide poisoning. People died in their homes, unable to stay warm. The human cost of the blackout was immeasurable. The blackout had a profound impact on the mental health of Texans. The stress and trauma of the experience left many feeling anxious, depressed, and traumatized. The fear of another blackout lingered long after the power was restored. The blackout exposed the deep inequalities in our society. The economic fallout from the blackout was swift and severe. Businesses were forced to close. Schools were shuttered. The cost of the blackout to the Texas economy was estimated to be in the billions of dollars. The storm and the blackout had a devastating impact on businesses. Many were forced to close their doors, some permanently. The blackout had a ripple effect on the national economy. Texas is a major energy producer. It is a hub for manufacturing and agriculture. The disruption to these industries was felt across the country. The economic toll of the blackout was a stark reminder of our interconnectedness. The price of natural gas, the primary fuel source for many Texas power plants, skyrocketed. This price spike led to higher energy bills for consumers. The Texas blackout was a wake-up call. As the planet warms, extreme weather events are becoming more frequent and more intense. We need to act now to build a more resilient future. The first step is to decarbonize our economy. We must transition away from fossil fuels and towards renewable energy sources. This transition will require massive investments in renewable energy infrastructure. It will also require a fundamental shift in our energy policy. We need to break our addiction to fossil fuels and embrace a clean energy future. We need to invest in climate adaptation. This means preparing our infrastructure for the impacts of climate change. It means building more resilient power grids, strengthening our coastal defenses, and developing drought-resistant crops. Climate adaptation is not an option. It is an imperative. We must act now to protect our communities, our economy, and our planet. The Texas blackout was a tragedy, but it was also an opportunity. It was an opportunity to learn from our mistakes. It was an opportunity to build a better future. We can create a future where everyone has access to clean, affordable, and reliable energy. We can create a future where our communities are resilient in the face of climate change. We need to invest in a Green New Deal. We need to create millions of good-paying jobs in the clean energy sector. We need to rebuild our infrastructure to be more resilient and sustainable. We need to ensure that everyone has access to clean air, clean water, and a healthy environment. The Green New Deal is not just an environmental policy, it is an economic policy. It is a social policy. It is a policy for the future. We need to demand action from our leaders. Our elected officials need to know that we are serious about addressing climate change. We need to hold them accountable for their inaction. We need to vote for leaders who will fight for a clean energy future. We need to make our voices heard. The future of our planet depends on it. The time for action is now.